Can we start now? Okay. So my name is Martha Carr. Are you recording? Yes. My name is Martha Carr, and these are some of the covers of around 200 books. I created a universe with Michael Anderle, and so you'll see a couple other names like Charlie Case on there. So we occasionally do invite other people to come into the universe and write. And it's urban fantasy, and we are doing about 7 figures a year in revenue. Next slide. This is Grace, my assistant. And so I've been writing for about 30 years, probably plus. I was a journalist because I thought newspapers would be my backup. I mean, they've been around since Ben Franklin. Where are they going? So we're going to talk about, I've been doing this for a while, and I've had the pleasure of observing authors who've done extremely well and authors who had great books, and for some reason, it never quite got there. So I haunt other authors, fan groups. I would suggest you do the same. They haunt me as well. We know each other is there because you can see who's in a group. Looking for what makes the difference. So that's what you're going to hear is what I've been able to glean makes a difference between whether or not your great book that you're doing ads on really rises consistently or not. And so, next slide. So this is a checklist that we're going to cover on the slides. Network up and down. Figure out your core motivation. Don't be a dick. Check your willingness. Don't chase shiny objects. Let your fan base get to know you. Set realistic goals and keep going. Learn something new. Celebrate early and often. And I always say, too, that whenever I'm talking, it's take what you like and leave the rest. The best thing you can learn to do is trust yourself. And you gather as much information as you can, but then it's up to you. If you're constantly changing your plan in order to do what somebody else told you, I used to do that, and I got nowhere because I was constantly changing my plan. Next slide. So network up and down. So you're going to need to find a mentor. I have enough mentees, so I learned that from my last talk to please mention that. But you're going to need somebody who, you want somebody who not only you admire their business, but you admire them. And that it resonates with you. Do your best not to overlook that they're kind of shady. It won't pay off. And then ask them. And if you get turned down, ask somebody else. The reason why Michael and I worked together is because I asked him back when he would give out his phone number. And you want the mentor because I have people that I can go to and say, I heard about this, what do you think? And they may have already researched it, they know about it, and they know me. And they say, based on your desires, this is what it looks like for you. And so it just cuts through the noise, and I can get excited about a shiny object. Doesn't mean I should be doing it. And instead of the distraction, I get back on track. Then another smart thing I did was I found a group of friends, which hopefully you guys are finding that here. We were all kind of at the same point. This was before this convention had started. And you kind of figure out quickly who's drama-full and who's drama-free. I picked the drama-free. Because what you want is somebody who will listen to that, your feelings. You don't act like you don't feel that way, but who quickly moves on to the practical and says, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And they do it without judgment. And they're doing it not with the expectation that you have to follow what they said. They have an outside view, and they don't have a dog in that race. So they can point out what you could be doing. And then it's going to be up to you to discern what you're going to do next. So also, as you might imagine, I have spent money that didn't go well. And also, Amazon once on a brand new series put the right cover, wrong book inside to a very large pre-order. And Michael and I were laughing because there was nothing we could do. We fixed it eventually. The book went on to be a bestseller a couple weeks later. But people were one-starring us, saying we got the wrong book. but then fans were also one-starring them, saying, how dare you, it wasn't them. And we were just watching the whole thing. You know, what are you going to do? You got to keep a sense of humor and realize your entire career is not based on today. It's just today. Next slide. Okay, so figure out what you want. The most powerful question in your life for every area of your life is, what do I want? It changes. It's not going to be the same. But if you can honestly ask yourself, what do I want, and answer it, it's going to keep you on a path that's true to you. So I had a mentor years ago, and she would ask me, and I would tell her what my son wanted. And she would say, I didn't ask you that. What do you want? And I couldn't answer it for a while. I was so hooked into minding other people's business that I had never asked myself. So I couldn't have told you what I like to eat, what I like to wear, and I had to really reverse things. And I wasn't going to really have much success until I actually knew what I wanted. So it's the strongest motivation will rule the roost. My strongest motivation in the past was to be liked. And so I was traditionally published at first, which is great if you want to be liked, because you got to go through all those hoops, and they like me. They really like me. And what happened was I got published, critics loved me, fans didn't buy it. Selling books was not my strongest motivation. Making money was not my strongest motivation. Being liked was. I got what I truly wanted. I was saying I need to make money, I want to make money, but it's not really what I wanted. So why does that make a difference? Next slide. We're very low tech here. So you figure out your motivation by looking at your business. So, I mean, I could look at mine and see I'm not selling books. So clearly what I'm saying is not matching what my motivation is. And so now I'm going to have to find those trusted advisors and that friends who are drama-free, who will tell me the truth, whether I'm really thrilled about it or not. And I got to listen, not cut them off halfway, not tell them why they're wrong, and then ponder it. So when you hit the mark with me, in my head, I'm thinking, you don't know anything. But I know enough now to let it sit there, and about 2 or 3 days later, it's going to dawn on me why they're right. And that is a gift, that is such a big gift, because I can't even hear the opportunity I'm being offered when I'm too busy trying to be right. And so I've missed opportunities. The reason why, I'm sure y'all have heard the story, but Michael Anderle and I got together was because out of almost 100 authors, I was the only one who was willing to believe him. And then when he said, do you want to write urban fantasy? I said, yes. And this thought went through my head of, I've never made money at it, so I'm not going to offer him advice. I'm just going to do what he wants. If I fail at it, so what? I'm no further behind than where I am now. I'm just going to take a chance. Next slide. Okay, so you figured out what your deepest motivation is. So what do you do with it? So the method I'm going to teach you, I have actually done with a lot of people, and it has never failed. It's simple, so that's why I'm pointing this out to you. This is not something I dreamed up when Craig said, can you do a talk? I have worked with people straight through this. I've done it. It's amazing. And the first thing you got to remember is how you treat money is how you treat time, is how you treat sex, is how you treat food. I don't know why it doesn't occur to us, but we're the same person for everything. So if you're showing up, for example, 15 minutes late thinking that's cool, you might want to look and see if this habit of not respecting your time, your money, etc., is going throughout. I'll tell you, mine was I show up horribly early. Sounds funny, but it was really a sign of my hyper control, that I was so trying to micromanage that I show up early. I still do it. I've just come to accept that part. I can't get rid of that one. But I mean, I was tight-fisted with money too. My mentor had to teach me to say, well, will spending this dollar change your life? Because that's how tight I was. And it was strangling my life. So, next slide. Okay, so you want to get a small notebook. This is really low tech. If you have no money, you're going to be able to do this. You record every moment of the day for 2 weeks. That means I was in the bathroom for 15 minutes. I was on the road for 20 minutes. You leave nothing out. Every single thing that happens to you so that it fills I slept for 7 hours, whatever it is. Then when you've got the 2 weeks, you go over it with someone you trust and you look at where you're spending your time. And I've never had anyone do it who wasn't shocked. We don't see what we're doing. It's like when somebody says, where are you spending your money? And you swear, I'm not. And then you look at what you spend on Amazon and, or even better, I always eat well. And I laugh at both of those because, I've done both. And then when I know for me, when I'm doing something like this, my ego can be sitting right there because I feel vulnerable. So try and walk into it knowing you're going to listen more than you're going to talk. If you have to hold your breath, you can learn the acronym, why am I talking? Wait. And it floats through my head all the time. Why am I talking? What patterns emerge? So this is where you're going to see, in my case, I am watching over everything. So I trusted no one, so that meant I couldn't take advice. That's what I mean by, it was a very big life change for me to work with Michael Anderle and keep my big mouth shut. And also to follow through and to not tear it up and to not second guess it. I had done enough work that I was finally ready to just do it. And it's really, I wasn't perfect at it too. I was very fortunate in who I was working with because I did have moments of, I would just lose it. And he would start laughing. And I would think, why are you laughing? And then he'd say, why are you still doing that? And so I also got to learn to let go, let go, let go. And it's still something I do. All right. Next slide. Okay, so this is courtesy of Barry Hutchison. He did a talk that was entirely Don't Be a Dick. And it was hilarious. And he's a great thriller writer if you're ever looking for a good book. But so this is really important because it's easier to be a dick than you realize. Like if I get a 5-paragraph DM from someone I don't know asking for help, I'm already tired. And if you can't, you have to condense it down to the one sentence. And also think about it. Is this appropriate to be asking? I don't mind being asked. I never mind being asked. But if you've got 5 paragraphs, I'm already getting an impression of what this is going to be like. And that's kind of dickish. But also, if you're having a bad day, if you're having a halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, sick, maybe that's not a good day to be asking a favor of somebody you don't know. I fully think, ask authors. The ones who are rude to you, great, cross them off your list. Because as you may have noticed, most of us are pretty nice people. And if I can help you, I will. But I want to know that you're being a grown-up and that you're doing your footwork and that you already had some answers so that the question is meaningful. So that what I'm saying is you're respecting my time as well. And also, I'm not your Google. So when I see, this is a personal one of mine, when I see online, does anyone know what the so-and-so looks like? I think, Google it, man. Why are you asking us? We're busy. But I see it all the time. So how do you get the help you need when you're in times of stress? You still need it. That's going to be your circle of people. But the deal is, this is the deal. So I have somebody that we check in at 1 o'clock every Monday. But the deal is, you can say how you felt about it, but then once you're done, now we talk about how you're going to let it go because nothing can be done. Or we're going to talk about options, and once the options have been displayed that we two humans can think of, you're either going to take the advice or we're going to change the topic. So there's very clear boundaries. Nobody's going to get to spin in a loop and go on and on and on and on and on about it. And then how do you celebrate without annoying your friends? And by that I mean the celebrations that I see online that go on forever that say, I'm the greatest. Try and keep in mind that not everybody's having a great day. You want to celebrate, but just be mindful. Somebody who's constantly saying, I'm number one, it gets old. It gets old. And how are you giving back instead? I swear the princess in the fifth row looks very frowny face at me. Next slide. Not sure it's me. So check your willingness. So willingness is the fuel. It's the gasoline for your career. And by willingness, I mean you're willing to let go of what your brain is saying, don't do it, and just do it. Just say yes. I've only been making this kind of money for about 5 years, so it really hasn't been that long. I'm also 63 years old, by the way, so I wasn't a spring chicken. And I used to write for the Washington Post. I had a national column on politics that was read by 4 million people a month. I normally don't tell people that because I don't want to hear about your politics, no. But I'll tell you because I just feel you won't do it to me. So, I mean, I had been successful, but my willingness was really low. And then so I did work on myself. I found the appropriate people, and I learned to say yes. And here I am 5 years later. I have a fabulous house, and for Halloween, I hired a set designer, and we recreated a magical farce in my front yard. It was insane. It was so over the top. Okay, next slide. So this is the only, this is use your discretion. If it's not in your budget, time or money, if it holds no interest for you, because, again, you're going to trust yourself. So if that light inside is really not going on for you, or if it's unethical, those are the times you don't say yes. So, there's limits to everything. Don't chase shiny objects. People post on Facebook all the time or someplace, and it sounds like so much fun. And they're telling you how wonderful it is. And they even laid out a roadmap how to do it. But you have a plan. But it's tempting to go look at theirs too. So you don't chase shiny objects. Yeah, but if you are looking for an idea and you light up with it, go gather the information. That will help you discern, I do want to do it, I don't want to do it. But occasionally it's going to happen. You could get pretty far down the road and realize, I don't want to do it. I mean, my best short example of that is just the time I was supposed to be buying a couch and I bought a bench. It had a leather seat. It was really nice. But it was $800. And then I made every delivery person sit on it, and I packed it with pillows because it was an uncomfortable bench. And it took me 2 weeks to admit what I'd done and go buy a couch. So there are going to be times, and I've spent lots of money on PR people and got nothing. So there are going to be times where you're going to make a decision, you're going to try something, it's not going to work. Let it go. And because if you get emotion into it, you're going to stand longer in the problem. If you can stay practical and say, this is what I did, this were the results, you're going to see the beginning of a solution faster. And again, that's where your community is going to help you out. And by the way, I'm talking to authors in my community. They aren't necessarily urban fantasy. That's not the criteria for me. And and if your plate is full, congratulate your fellow author. Somebody else's success does not threaten mine, ever. And I can congratulate you without thinking, where's mine? Most days. Also, you don't know their full story. So when you hit this level, you do start to get to know everybody's full story. And sometimes you know that that's not quite what's going on with them, which is cool. But you realize that to some degree it can be smoke and mirrors. I try to be as transparent as possible. It's just easier to live that way for me, but you don't know their full story. You know the Facebook version. Next. Let your fan base, this is so key. This is so key. I have told authors, particularly who write for me, that T.R. Cameron, who I don't think is in here, he writes great books and he interacts with fans. I started in quarantine and now we do it still every month, Pizza Fan Day, online, 5 fans in the US win a pizza delivered, and we show up on Zoom together. And T.R. Cameron's in there every month, and this is the difference. This is what makes the difference between a book going really big and kinda. So I'm in urban fantasy, it's a crowded field. Every time I have a book come out, a lot of other people do too. But I know my fans are gonna pick mine first and they're gonna read it. And they're gonna turn those pages in KU. It partially, they like the book, but it's also because they see me as a friend. Last year I was going through chemo and and it was quarantine, so you had to go alone. So I didn't know that the fans found out and were bugging Grace about what day is chemo. And I started getting long DMs, very long, personal fun stories. And it took me, I caught on about after the third one that they were trying to cheer me up. And a fan from the Netherlands sent flowers. These people, we are connected to each other. So they're going to choose my book first. They're going to look out for me. They're going to leave a 5-star review. It's a relationship. And you can do it with, so about 1% of the fans who love you contact you. So of the fans who are contacting me, there's a whole herd out there that feel just as close. I just don't hear from them. Yeah, be consistent and mix it up. I will talk about my garden because that's what's important to me. But I talked about cancer and chemo. I talk about my dogs. And when I started, I thought, I have nothing to talk about. Because, you're not used to doing it yet. But I'm a runner. I'm just getting back to it. But people gave me weird socks. I would take pictures of whatever pair of socks I was wearing. People responded, so I thought, okay. Also, too, I recognized immediately that Michael is very funny, easily in person, and I am not. I'm more the touchy-feely sort, and I knew I couldn't compete with him on that. It wasn't going to work. I was going to have to be myself. So be yourself. People will love it. People will love it. Okay, next one. Yeah, set realistic goals. So the goal in your head may be to be a 7-figure author. Great, but that's not your immediate goal. That puts pressure on you, and you don't get to celebrate anything because you're not there. So set a realistic goal. Keep it low. Shane Silvers is one of my favorite examples, just because he was a loan officer, I think, for a bank. Does everybody know who Shane Silvers is? Urban fantasy author who does extremely well. And his goal was make as much as he was making at the bank, which was a nice low bar, frankly. And then he could quit. So if you set a low goal, like I'm looking at doing a Kickstarter, I'm going to do a very low goal. So if it only does, everybody keeps telling me you should do a higher goal. Why? I'm going to do a low goal and celebrate if that's all that happens, because I'm going to keep going and do another one. I'm not stopping there. This is where all the other slides really pay off. So you've gathered your community. You know what your true intention is. You've learned how to be polite to others, but you're still going to ask. You've picked your personal shiny objects. So that's what you're going to need all that in order to set a realistic goal. If you have not gathered information about your personal budget, all the other stuff, how are you going to set a goal? You don't know what you want. You're back to me telling you what my son wants. Next slide. I'm also trying to go through these at a certain pace so you can ask questions if you want. Okay. So you want to know when to release and how often, how much to spend on covers, editing ads, and the mentor you found is going to tell you forgot X, or your circle will tell you you forgot X. How many hours to devote it to writing? Please be realistic. You do have a family, or people who'd like to see you, and I know you hear about people who say, "I write a book a week" or whatever. Great, I think it's amazing. I wonder how you do it. But I won't be able to do that. So I'm going to set a realistic goal that I can feel good about, that has some room in it for if somebody invites me to something strange, I'm on board. This is why I'm doing it. Does writing need to be a side gig for now? So like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and there was a time when I was exhausted from pitching newspapers. So I went and got a corporate job as an editor, and it was perfect because you had to do the same exact thing every day. So my brain was not engaged, so I could go home and write. And I had an insurance card, I had a cubicle, and I knew every 2 weeks money would magically show up. It was, it gave me some normalcy, so then I could write. So it's okay if you got to do a corporate or a job. It's okay if you got to do side gigs. We're going to fit ourselves to life instead of insisting life fit us. I can tell you that when I insisted life fit me because I thought if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to write. And it didn't work. It wasn't until I started to deal with reality that things started to actually change for the better. Yeah, and how much money would I have to be able to earn in order to do this full time? And it's going to be different for everybody. Yeah, and how much money would I need till an assistant could be hired? And Grace and I started out small. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted her to do. I think we started out with a newsletter or something, and it grew from there. So whatever you're seeing that I'm made up of now, it started really small, and it built. And I just started with the idea that it's okay where I am. I am okay where I am, and I will build from here. But I'm not going to put myself down for being where I'm at. I'm not going to do it. Okay, learn something new. So, you've been working with your goals, you've made some real progress, you're off the learning curve, it's going pretty well. You still have to remain open to what's new, because often what was working a couple years ago, it may have fallen flat. All the new people figured out how to do it, so they've joined you. So you got to be open to what's coming down the pike, and go pick a new shiny object. Go back to your mentor, say, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and gather the information. So, the Kickstarter thing, I've been gathering that information. I found the woman who's here from Kickstarter and met with her, and it was invaluable. And my confidence is growing, but also I'm keeping my expectations low. How can you grow your business without stretching it too thin? I just personally feel like one of the worst things you can do is add undue stress. I've quit my job, and this is an example, and I have 12 months left of savings to just see if this will work. I mean, that's a great Hollywood story, but it's a hard way to live. So that's why we need an outside voice who makes other suggestions, like, can you tell the people you're going to be on a sabbatical for X amount of time, but you might be back? Or can I devote half the day to writing? Or you just think about not adding undue stress, because it's hard. I did it, and it's very hard. Celebrate early and often. Don't do destination living. I was so desperate I was a single mother, by the way, and without much help, and I was really desperate to get somewhere. And also, my image, my ego was wrapped up in what do you do, and how good are you at it. So when I get here, then I will feel this way. And one of my goals was to become a national columnist. And when I got there, it's like, oh my God, I actually did it. The feeling lasted about 2 weeks, because I hadn't worked on who I am and hadn't figured out my true intention. And so I was a national columnist with the same pile of fear. And so then my personal philosophy is spend some, save some, invest some, give some. And there's a lot of joy in, I grew up as a poor kid. There's a lot of joy in being able to do things like, I can tell you my personal ones that I do. The local school, it's like a half a mile down the road. If you can't, if your parents don't pay the food, the cafeteria, the lunch fund, the school lunch. In front of your friends, they'll say, you get the cold lunch today because your parent couldn't pay it. So I found that out, and I go over and I pay it. And, as a poor kid, it chokes me up now to think that the parent who can't afford, sometimes what they owe is $12. I just do it for the school. And, knowing that beefaroni and cheese sticks was on me one day, it means everything to me. I do Kindles for Vietnam vets at the PTSD vet place, and they say to me, what they first said was, "What's a Kindle?" And I thought, I'm not going to sell many books here. And also, they're more interested in Craig's books than mine, frankly. But one of the people who works there, whoever wins, they get a lesson on how to use the thing. And it teaches me, too, that money does not stop with me. That I don't have to do this, because remember, I'm the one will keeping this dollar change my life. So giving back is also my way of keeping my hands open, and it makes me open for ideas that come along. And I've set up a structure so I'm not just wildly chasing something. I have stopgaps in place in terms of the people I trust. And then, have some fun. So I've survived cancer 5 times. I've been told you've got a year left 12 years ago, so still here. And it really has taught me that if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? If this is a grind for you, this is not for you. So, and if you've created if you love writing, you hate the way you set up your business, rethink it. Really, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? And it can be fun. And the way I do it may not be the way anyone else in the room does it. That's okay. I'm having fun. I've set it up so I can spend time sitting in my garden with my dogs and creating a really insane magical forest. There are pictures on Facebook. And and work. And that's what I want. You know, other people really get a joy out of working the whole day and writing. And so I'm not saying for you, you're going to have to trust yourself. I think that's the last slide, right? Yeah. There's 13 minutes left. So does anybody have a question? There's a mic right there. Are there going to be crickets? Da, 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 da. Sure, there's a mic right there. And
loud enough to yell, but I'm just curious if you can expand more on the journaling everyday thing.
Sure.
'Cause I mean, that's like a really good piece of advice I hadn't thought about before.
It's also,
I spend a lot of my time on Instagram Reels, so that's going to be an eye-opening experience for me.
you know what the shocking thing to everybody is? It's the time they spend that they don't see. You think you know. And also when I did it, I actually felt honest grief because I realized how many years I had wasted time, hours on stuff, on mostly worry. But yeah,
You would
so
record that as well, like everything?
everything. If you sat there for an hour just staring off into space and you write it down, 24 hours should be accounted for. 24 hours. You record everything. And the more detail, the better. And you got to find somebody who will tell you the truth, who will not be trying to spare your feelings because they want you to like them.
What do you do with that after then? How do
Yeah,
you
so then there's some
move
decisions
forward?
to be made. That's right. So then you got to know, so what's your strongest intention? And so if I'm spending, in my case, if I have spent 2 hours helping out somebody when it was none of my business and I had other things to do, am I willing to stop? And I wasn't willing to stop completely at first. So I got to work with who I am too. So then where am I willing to stop? What area, and with that time, where am I going to use it? By the way, too, time tends to be the one that doesn't light up people's defensiveness. But once I got time under control, I noticed that money started to pull into line, food started to pull into line. So it has an interesting effect on the other areas of my life, and I grew calmer. And then also, my life started to change in a positive way, and it's probably because I was noticing opportunity. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Am I too? Oh, thank you.
How do you suggest finding a mentor?
So, can you still hear me in the back? Okay. So, I would go online and start, like I said, haunting the Facebook groups. And you might not want to pick the one who everybody's trying to, like Mark, what's his name from? Yeah, don't pick him. I mean, I don't think your chances are going to be really big. But start looking at the up-and-coming writers who you really respect, who are growing rapidly, and just start to hang out in their group. How do they talk to their fans? Are they respectful? Do they participate? Are they kind of fun? That's how, and then you ask. You do what I did. You just simply ask. Yeah, skip the ones who are already, I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. Ask away the big ones too. I mean, you never know. One might go, sure. And how you approach them is going to matter. Do you know what you're asking? Can you keep it short? Can you kind of, and can you show them that you will take what the advice they give you and you'll go do it? When I was a brand new, wanted to be a reporter and I had this small child, I went to the business section of the newspaper and I told them, it was just a ridiculous thing. And I had a kid in a stroller. And they told me to go read these books. And I went and got all the books, read them, made notes, and came back with them. And when I saw the shocked look on his face, I realized he didn't think I'd come back. The whole department adopted me after that and taught me how to write. So how you respect what they told you to do and their time will have a huge impact on. Michael and I are like peers, but it's because I respect his word and I take what he says and run with it. And you know, I got opinions too now, but yeah. Go and start joining fan groups.
Thank you.
Yeah. I had a cover designer do that. So in urban fantasy, women with gray hair have more power.
You know, that's the way it should be.
Yes, yes.
How'd you get into working with sending Kindles to Vietnam vets? My dad was a Vietnam vet. He went to the PTSD area thing in Topeka. So I was just like, that's freaking awesome.
So I knew I wanted to give Kindles away to somebody, and I looked up a nearby veteran center, and it just happened to be Vietnam vets. And also, while I was there, I found out too that for them to throw a party is a tremendous amount of red tape. For me to bring in a party, so I asked, can I donate the money? And they said, no, it's still a lot of red tape. But I can bring the party, and so I do that also about once a year. And by the way, they don't know me, they don't care. They're thrilled and bring too much food. That's my other thing I've learned. And yeah, so pick what resonates with you. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. It turned out to be Vietnam vets and PTSD, but it was the closest veteran center. That's why I chose it.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? We have 7 minutes.
Hi, I write historical fiction and I have one book out. So it took me like 3 months to write the draft, 2 months to work with beta readers, 3 months to work with an editor. So I'm confused how people put out so many books like you did. How does this process work to do it so much faster?
Sure. Well, I'd been writing for a long time, and we had a system of editors and cover designers in place, so that's part of it. So you don't need to do it that fast. If you can be consistent, you may not like jump ahead financially at first. You're going to perhaps build more slowly, but you're also going to learn what to do and what not to do, and it probably won't cost you as much, the mistakes. And if you can be consistent and tell your fans it's going to come out here, and be realistic so that you know it will come out there, and then you tease it. Like I will give away a chapter or 2 or 3, but I'll space it out over time, and that can work just as well. Your build will probably be slower, but it will build. So you be you.
Thank you.
Hi there, collaboration question, because I know you do
Sure.
a lot of that.
Yeah.
If I have an author that's a lot further ahead than me and is taking a chance at collaborating with me, is there anything that you would recommend that I do to make sure that it's a pleasant experience
Sure.
for both of us? I'm sure
Yeah,
you have
I
thought.
saw T.R. Cameron come in. It's a very pleasant experience with Tom because, so you want to wave again because everybody's turning around? It's a very pleasant experience because if he tells me he'll turn something in, I know he'll turn it in, I won't have to find him. If I ask him a question, he will answer me shortly. I mean, I don't expect you to be looking at your phone, but I won't have to hunt you down. If something doesn't quite go right, and he knows that we've done all we can, he shakes it off. So, he's not a dick. And it makes a huge difference. And if I've worked with people who kind of were, and we're not going to do but so much because I got too much going on. And also, he's open, he listens more than he talks, but he also has an opinion. I don't want somebody who never has one. I want to know if you like it. Tell me what you'd like to add to it. It's not helpful if I'm doing everything. But he also listens more than he talks. And if I ask him to participate on Facebook, he's out there doing it. He celebrates, and he's humble. So Pizza Friday, I mentioned that the group, Tom's been coming to all of them. I ask him every month, what book do you have coming out? And a couple of months ago, I pointed out that was his book, and they all look shocked on Zoom saying, you mean he's real? It's not you? It's like, how did you miss that? And instead of being insulted, like, how do you not know I'm a good writer? He was laughing. Because, it's not me. I've been asked, why did you think I was asking that guy for 2 years? So, that's what I would say about be easy to get along with, run with the idea, set realistic expectations. So, you don't have to say I'll turn it in a month, knowing that that's going to be hard. Just set it up so that, and then also too, I appreciate it if you tell me the truth. If you're saying, because I have a small kid, I'm going to turn it in every 2 months or whatever it is, I so appreciate it because I know it's more likely that that's actually what's going to happen. And then I can tell fans, this is what's going to happen. I can tell Grace, this is what's going to happen. I can tell editing. When you give me unrealistic expectations in a group like who I work with, you are ruining more than one person's day. We have 3.5 minutes. Does anyone have a burning desire? a question? Does anyone want to tell me how wonderful I am? You know, what's funny is this is live streaming, so everyone will have heard that. And you know, yeah, keep a sense of humor. That will, boy, will that take you far, because it will not always go your way. And sometimes, and also, if you screwed up, apologize quickly. Don't make them fine you. Just own up to it. Say, this is what I did. This is how I'll fix it. Really sorry about that.
How do you go so fast? How can you write books so quickly? Because I have to sit there and, I try not to do it, but it's just trying to visualize stuff and just trying to, keep things going straight. Tell us a little bit
Okay,
about
so I've been writing for over 30 years. I wrote for newspapers. An editor will say, you got an hour and I need 30 inches. And so, okay. And I got to go collect the data too. And so that's part of it, is that practice will get you there. I also use an outline. And I will often work the outline out with somebody else where I'm stuck. So I know by now, because I've been doing it so long, I have all the elements so I can just keep going. And then I break it down. In order to hit this goal, I need this amount of words per day. So that's basically how I do it. If it's really not something I would expect someone to do straight out of the gate. The first article I did sucked. And but I got better. And so yeah, practice. 1.5 minutes. Sure.
Just finished Moorfield 8, absolutely love it. Are you going to spin anything else out of it? Because it says
I have a feeling that's a Michael book and not a Martha book.
which book were you?
Moorfield 8.
It's got both your names on
It does.
it. Is,
Even Grace looks confused, and Grace
are
is
you
the
talking
brains.
about Idina? The warrior?
Oh,
That goes to book 12, honey.
that's you mean the warrior. Warrior,
Yeah,
Ghost
the warrior.
the
It goes to
warrior.
book 8. It goes to book 12, and there's a
Yeah,
spin-off series.
and that wasn't the right title, but I feel you. It goes to book 12, and it's done. I know.
But there is a Academy series linked to it.
Also, the series I'm excited about that I'm doing now is a band of rogue pixies. And, and in my world, pixies can be overweight, they can wear glasses, it's hilarious. And so that's what I'm excited about, is this band of pixies. You'll see. It's going to be great. 14 seconds. Anything? Thank you.